welcome viewers. I am Pia and you are watching NewsX. We're tracking some important updates from Manipur this morning. Fresh violence has hit Manipur as Kuki protesters clashed with security forces in the Kangpokpi district of the state on the very first day of free movement. One protester unfortunately lost their lives and more than 20 of them have been injured in these clashes. The authorities had used tear gas to disperse the crowds. Of course, you can see visuals of the protest on your screens at the moment. Some people have been, of course, injured. Tear gas was used by the authorities in order to disperse the protesters. My colleague Nibir Deka with us on the broadcast to share more details. Nibir, we're being told that one protester in Kangpokpi has unfortunately died and over 20 of them have been injured as well. What exactly transpired?
Well, yesterday was March 8, which is the day where free movement was supposed to begin in Manipur, in the sense that the highways would be open up for the movement of everyone involved in the state, and there was a service being started from Imphal to the hill district of Kangpokpi, which is in the Southern Hills area. And there was a heavy protest, if you see, on the highway, wherein the Kuki Zoo folk came out in large numbers criticizing and opposing the free movement. Their reasons were that without their political demands and other demands being met, they had opposed the free movement regime which began yesterday, and as a result of that, they came out in large numbers in protest. However, the protests turned violent. There were heavy clashes with the security forces. We saw how tear gas and other items had to be used to control and disperse the crowd, which led to injuries of more than 20 people and one person unfortunately succumbing to those injuries. And as a result of that, these violent clashes that we saw yesterday, the bus also could not enter the hilly areas. It was stopped midway on the Kethalbambi area, and further we saw how it led to violent clashes, led to the injury and killing of one person involved in the protest. Back to you, Pia.
Indeed, and Nibir, could you also take our viewers through what exactly is happening on ground at the moment? Because we've seen, a joint press conference having taken place just a few days back in the national capital, where both Kuki and Meitei groups had come together calling for peace and reconciliation. So what's happening on ground in Manipur right now?
Well, the press conference that you have talked about was from the Thado community, which comes under the bigger umbrella, and they claim that they have been appropriated by the Kukizu community. But that is a press conference which talked about a peace roadmap in Manipur. However, things that are on ground are very different. Firstly, we have to talk about the positives. Now, what are the positives? Following the imposition of the president's rule, we saw daily search operations and combing operations, wherein a lot of these explosives and arms and ammunitions were caught, which is a positive sign. Secondly, we saw the governor giving a clarion call, and which led to a lot of people coming out in large numbers and surrendering their weapons. Remember, when the clashes broke out last year, it is estimated that over 6,000 weapons were stolen from the state armories, and a lot of people came out and surrendered their weapons, which was a very positive side of public involvement. But the major concern was that political demands, which was that the Kukizu community continues to ask for a separate administration and other such demands in their political framework. And when the Home Ministry had given assurance of a free movement being starting from March 8, the Kukizu community had opposed for the free movement, stating that without their political demands being met, it is not possible and they will not allow movement from the valley to the hills. If you see, both the population are separated. The Meiteis have been living in the valley and the Kuki Zoo community living in the hills, and the center had rightly attempted to bridge that gap and start the free movement by starting the bus services and other services. However, yesterday it was not possible. It was not possible to continue to do that because of the opposition and apprehension of the Kuki Zoo community, because they claim that without their political demands being met, it is not possible that they would allow the movement in these highways. And as a result of that, what we saw was very unfortunate, leading to the loss of one life and also violent clashes between the security forces and so on and so forth. Back to you.
Indeed, Nibir, stay on with us. We're tracking another piece of information that is coming in from Manipur. The Kuki Zoo Council has imposed an indefinite shutdown in all the Kuki areas, urging the central government to address underlying issues and reconsider its stance to avoid further escalation and tension as well as confrontation. Nibir, walk our viewers through this statement that has been put out by the Kuki Zoo Council, and what can we expect to take place next, considering the fact that now it's the centre that is dealing with this situation, considering the fact that President's rule has been imposed?
Well, as the violent confrontations have erupted following the state government's decision to, push the Valley Group's movement into the region, the Kukizu community have now escalated the matters following yesterday's protest, and the Kukizu Council has, condemned the free movement first of all, and secondly, it has said that it is an act of provocation, and as a result of that, the council has declared an indefinite shutdown across all Kuki Zoo administered areas effective from yesterday midnight, and the shutdown will continue, they have stated, until a political solution is reached that ensures a lasting peace for the community. So basically, they are going against the same thing that they have been stating earlier as well. They want the political solution, which is basically their political demand for a separate administration. And again, they have reiterated that demand. And if, without that demand being met, they have opposed the free movement initiative, and also they have called for a total shutdown, and they have further warned that they cannot guarantee the safety of any Meiteis who cross into the buffer zones. And this is a very interesting statement coming in, because we were assuming that following the decisions taken by the center after the president's rule in terms of surrendering the weapons and other such initiatives being taken, and also the resignation of Viren Singh would have eased up the demand for a separate administration from the Kuki Zoo administered areas. But now they have reiterated the demand and stated that without that demand being met, they will not allow, firstly, the free movement, and secondly, the indefinite shutdown will continue in those areas. Back to you.
Indeed, Nibir, stay on with us. I'm also being joined by Colonel J.S. Sodhi, who's a defense expert. Sir, good morning. Thank you for speaking to NewsX. My colleague Nibir has taken us through what exactly is transpiring in Manipur at this point of time. He's also told us that the demand by the Kuki Zoo Council for a separate administration continues despite the resignation of Biren Singh, despite a president's rule in the state. Is this a realistic demand? And second up, my question is, what's needed to rebuild trust? What's needed for reconciliation?
Jai Hind, Priya. It's my honor to be on your esteemed channel. Well, firstly, the demand by the Kukis to have separate administrative setup is absolutely unrealistic. The state cannot be and should not be divided on any lines any further, as it will be detrimental to the integrity of India. Secondly, as far as the problems in Manipur are concerned, I would like to tell your viewers that when the violence broke out on 3rd May 2023, 7 months after that, I had visited Manipur in the last week of December 2023. And I met the people from both the communities over the 1 week I was there. And everyone had one thing common to say, that the trust deficit between the two communities has become so much that it will take 10 to 15 years for things to come back to normal. Well, the central government has done the right step by imposing president's rule in Manipur on the 13th of February. And a week after that, the Manipur governor, Mr. Bhalla, on 20th February announced a 2-week amnesty for anyone surrendering weapons, which ended on 6th of March. And in this 2-week period, 1,000 weapons have been surrendered and 14,779 pieces of ammunition have been surrendered. Well, this is a very positive step taken by the Manipur governor. I'm sure that in next few days, we will see more weapons being surrendered. And already yesterday, the paramilitary forces, the army and the Assam Rifles have started launching combing operations, and they have recovered some weapons also. This clearly is a message that anyone who doesn't surrender weapons on its own will have to face the consequences of a military operation. Well, now the onus is totally on both the communities. Both the communities should take a step forward so that this problem, which has been there for over 1.5 years, should end at the earliest.
Indeed, sir. Stay on with us. We're tracking further updates from Manipur, we're getting to know that at least 2 state transport buses have been attacked in Kangpokpi and Imphal. Now, this comes after post-resumption of inter-district bus services from Imphal to hill districts and over 20 months since the violence had broken out. Now, the attack on the Senapati district-bound bus occurred when the passenger vehicle was pelted with stones by a mob in Kangpokpi district's Gamgibhai area. Meanwhile, security forces fired tear gas shells and baton charged the mob, leading to injuries of a few demonstrators. My colleague Nibir Deka is still with us on the broadcast. Nibir, we're getting to know that at least 2 state transport buses have been attacked. What is a probe into this going to take place? What's happening?
Well, the Manipur police have taken out a statement stating that the buses arranged for by the MST, which is the Manipur State Transport Bus, and was given under security escort. And further, they have alleged, they have stated that they were flying along the Imphal Bishnupur Churchandpur highway route, but they were along the Imphal Kangpokpi Senapati route. Huge mob had started pelting stones towards the bus at the Gambify area in the Kangpokpi district. This is the statement taken out by the Manipur police. And as a result of that, the security forces had to use tear gas and minimum force to disperse the mob. And further, they have stated that roadblocks were put at various other places along the national highway with huge number of protesters, including women and children, trying to immobilize the movement of the buses and the security forces by felling of trees, pelting of huge stones and boulders on the road, and burning tires as well. So this is a statement taken out by Manipur police where they have stated that the movement of the buses were hampered by the mob which came out in large numbers yesterday. Further, stones were pelted, roadblocks were damaged, and trees were felled along the route so that the movement of these buses are not possible. So although the center tried its best to do the free movement, yesterday we saw with the kind of resistance being taken up by the Kuki community, which has also been stated by the Manipur police, shows the kind of resentment they have for the free movement. And one of the big reasons that they have stated in their right is that their political demands need to be addressed first, and that has led to the escalation of what we saw yesterday, Pia.
All right, Nibir, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the broadcast. But one last piece of information we're tracking from Manipur. This, of course, pertains to the series of weapons recoveries that have been taking place. Successful joint operations have taken place. The Indian Army, Assam Rifles, soldiers under the Spear Corps have launched a large number of operations in the hill and valley districts of Jiribam, Tengnopal, Kakching, Ukhrul, Imphal East and Imphal West in coordination with the Manipur Police, CRPF, BSF and ITBP. These operations have resulted in the recovery of 25 weapons, IEDs, grenades, ammunition and other warlike stores. Security forces have also destroyed bunkers in the Kangpokpi district. Still with us on the broadcast is Colonel J.S. Sodhi. Sir, it seems that the terror purge is well underway. We're getting a good piece of information this morning. Several successful joint operations. Terror bunkers are being destroyed. 25 weapons have been recovered. We've seen over the last 2 weeks that several weapons had already been surrendered, but at the same time, the crackdown against the narco-terror nexus is well underway. So do you think the President's rule has provided impetus for security forces to continue the crackdown against terror more efficiently?
Well, absolutely, Pia. The President's rule imposition on 13th February in Manipur has been a step in the right direction. I really wish that this President's rule had been imposed much earlier. A large amount of loss of lives and destruction of property would have been avoided. But then, it has happened on 13th February. It is a very welcome step. And after that, we have seen the way the governor has handled the situation so well. He gave 2 weeks for general amnesty for people to surrender their weapons. And the moment the deadline expired on 6th March, from next day, 7th March morning, the military and the paramilitary forces conducted large-scale operations, which has resulted in a very good cache of arms and ammunition, and also has been very successful in striking at the narco-terror network that is prevalent in Manipur. Overall, I would, give my salute and respect to the governor of Manipur, to the military and the paramilitary forces of Manipur for carrying out such wonderful operations, which will definitely be a harbinger in bringing peace and prosperity back to Manipur very soon.
All right, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, speaking to us on NewsX this morning, sharing your perspective on what's happening in Manipur. We will continue to track these developments very, very closely.